like to call the Kansas City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees meeting February 16, 2019?
16. That's a typo. Oh! We're just moving right along, aren't we? Yeah.
2016 board meeting to order. And we're meeting at the Dr. Thomas R. Burke Technical Education Center. The Board of Trustees and some of the staff were delighted to have the culinary arts students and trainees prepare breakfast for us this morning, and we want to thank them and recognize them and give them a round of applause. And thank Chef Cheryl and Chef Richard for your leadership. And Cheryl's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Cheryl?
Culinary is going to help us out.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the trustees if you have any comments or questions for the culinary arts class.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. 3 of these students got second place in a very prestigious cooking contest a week or so ago over at Johnson County. And I understand from talking to people, it's the first time we've ever entered that contest. So congratulations, and you represented us well. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I am continuing to eat my breakfast. Scrumptious, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you all again. We appreciate what you did for us this morning. I've heard some comments. We may be having our meetings over here every day.
I was going to make that motion, or emotion.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
We'll be back for you again.
We'll take care of you.
As the secretary for the roll call.
Trustee Ash.
Here.
Trustee Brightfall.
Here.
Trustee Daniels.
Here.
Trustee Flender. Trustee Maddox.
Here.
Trustee Rios.
Here.
Trustee Townsend.
Here.
Thank you. Move approval of the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Any questions on the consent agenda before we vote? Been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Audience to patrons and petitioners. Anyone wishing to speak to the board this morning? Hearing none, we'll move along to communications. First up, we have the illustrious Dr. Cindy Lane from School District 500. Good morning, Dr. Lane.
Pleasure to be with you this morning. I don't know about illustrious though, Mr. Chairman. Windblown would be proper. May I?
Ma'am.
I appreciate very much the opportunity to be here today, share with you a little bit. But let me start by thanking you for joining the Board of Education at our joint meeting. I left there encouraged and inspired and confident that we can continue to strengthen our relationship and work together. So work that's happened since that time, Dr. Strickland, who as you know is my assistant superintendent for secondary schools, is working with Dr. Vitale on a proposal for a memorandum of understanding in which we can embrace our work. And I understand Dr. Vitale is also working to schedule that student success conversation. So, but today I'd like to talk to you about one of 2 things. You decide: teaching fellows or legislative issues. Oh, okay, I'll go with teaching fellows. But before you, I did want to share the school district's legislative platform. You know that this is a very important time for our school district, for our community, and for you as we work with our legislative partners to ensure that public education maintains a priority. So I wanted you to have that platform. The Gannon case was, for the equity piece, was decided last week in favor of the school districts, and so I'm hopeful that our legislators will embrace the fact that education is a priority in the state of Kansas and to do what is necessary to fund school for our children. But today I want to talk to you about the Teaching Fellows Program. You may recall more than a decade ago, the school district had in place an alternative certification program that allowed individuals who had been professionals in a variety of careers to transition into teaching. And that was highly successful. More than 250 professionals from a variety of fields, including engineers and medical professionals, as well as artists, transitioned at that time into the school district and earned their credential in partnership with Pitt State University. 10 years ago, however, when we were facing a similar legislative time, the school district had to eliminate that program. But I'm here today to talk to you about the fact that we're reviving it. And why are we reviving it? Because in partnership with this organization, we are implementing Diploma Plus. And as you all know, that means that we are moving from encouraging our high school students to take college classes or come here to the technical college while in high school. Encouraging, we have more than 500 students today that are participating, to requiring. So for the class of 2021, which is this year's, I heard it, 7th graders, thank you, audience participation. This year's 7th graders, the board has decided that they will be required not only to graduate from our high schools with their high school credential, but at least 1 year of college completed or their technical credential, or at least a 21 on the ACT. Bold, but necessary, because we know that by 2020, the year before those young people graduate, 72% of the jobs in Kansas will require post-secondary credentials. So working in partnership with you all, we are about to have 1,500 students a year that need college classes or need to be here at the technical college so they can complete their certificate. And if you think about it, as we start them as juniors in your organization, that will be 3,000 students, 15 a grade level. That will be upon us very, very soon. So we are very excited about that, but also know that we have to get ready. And one of the things that we're doing to get ready is re-energizing, reigniting, if you will, our Teaching Fellows program. We have been given permission by the State Board of Education to provide this unique alternative certification program that allows professionals from a variety of fields, frankly, we're targeting math and science, to come into the school district to learn to be teachers, and if they choose to become fully licensed. Because the district is a member of the Coalition of Innovative School Districts, we can certify ourselves professionals to teach in our classrooms. But we're not interested, frankly, in inviting anyone in and just having them walk in without training. So the Teaching Fellows program, in cooperation with Pittsburgh State, allows us to recruit. It's a very rigorous process, and then the individuals will spend the next 2 years not only in classrooms with a master teacher, working elbow to elbow with them, but frankly in a 6-week, what we call boot camp this summer, learning how to be teachers so they can help accelerate our Diploma Plus program. We're looking for professionals in the fields of engineering and architecture and the medical arena, and we are excited about this, hope that you will be as well. Hope that you'll assist us in recruiting individuals who might be interested in our Teaching Fellows program. But know that this is one step that we're taking in partnership with you all to ensure that we can provide this promise to our kids that they will graduate Diploma Plus. And to do that, we must have as many and as the highly qualified individuals in our classrooms as possible. So wanted to make you aware that Teaching Fellows is back. We still have, of the 250 individuals who originally were fellows, we still have 90 of them either teaching or serving as instructional coaches, we call them teacher leaders, or as administrators in our district. So we know the program works and that the commitment will bring us professionals who are highly excited about being in our classrooms. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
just wanted to make a comment. I actually, during the first round, I don't know, was it 10 or 12 years ago, I've lost track, I lost a staff person to the Teaching Fellows program. But I was proud to do so, and she's still there teaching.
That's great.
So it's a wonderful story, and I'm so proud of her.
Thank you for that. Well, thank you very much. Pleased to be here with you and look forward to our regular updates about our work.
Well, thank you for being with us this morning, Dr.
Thank you very
Moore.
much.
Okay, we have a, Dr. Gibbons, I'll have you, ask you to present the next item.
Some of you may have seen it on Fox News. Parents were, a woman, a mother was looking for a student, a child who wrote a letter. And this is what she wrote, and this is the title of it. And then we'll show you the video they showed on television that some of you may have seen. She says, "Thank you from 700 miles away. Thank you for showing me that Facebook isn't always such a negative place. I live in Central Ohio. According to MapQuest, I am approximately 687 miles from the Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And a group of people whom I have never met yet have created something in me that I cannot describe. My husband, a member of our United States Armed Forces, received a handmade card yesterday. This little card was beautifully decorated by a clearly young artist. On a whim, I took a picture of my husband and children holding the card and made a plea on my personal Facebook page. I asked that the photo be shared by my personal friends and family in hopes of the little girl seeing it. I wanted this little girl and her classmates to see how much something can matter. I wanted her to see that anyone has the ability to change things, to make an impression on others, to realize that anyone can do something kind for someone else. Seemingly instantly, my photo was shared again and again. Then just a bit ago, not even 24 hours later, I received a message from a woman who works at the facility where this card was made. Then I received another message, and another, and another. Stranger after stranger sent me messages telling me that they shared the photo and that they might know the little girl or her teacher or her classmate. I sat there in awe. Tears fell when I responded to a message from a woman named Jennifer, and again when messaging a woman named Carolyn. Both of these women thanked me. They thanked me for sharing the picture. I couldn't understand it. I did nothing but click the publish button on my Facebook. They were doing the hard part. They were playing detective for me. And then I scrolled through my Facebook news feed and saw what Facebook is truly made of. We read negatively all day long. We see our neighbors, we read negativity all day long. We see our neighbors and friends post perfect pictures of their homes and families and wonder why we aren't as good. We see how so-and-so just went to Disney World and how another person just bought the purse we were pining after. We read of brutality, racial issues, poverty, natural disasters, diseases, and chaos. We read negativity all day long, every day. Maybe that's why they thanked me. Maybe it was a nice change from the norm. However, I am the one who is grateful. A group of people in Kansas City, Kansas made a change. I'm not referring to the smile that they put on the face of my family. I'm talking of the change they made in those kids who created the cards for the military. Teaching our youth that small acts of kindness can change everything will start a revolution. There will still be negativity. Nothing we will ever do will change some of it. However, when we show our children that they are able to put a smile on the face of a stranger, we change them. When we show a little girl that a picture was taken of her artwork and of other children smiling because of her, we change her. When we tell the little girl's parents that a photo was shared again and again, all because of their daughter. We changed them. When that mom looks at her little girl and knows that a small gesture changed other children almost 700 miles away, we change her. When we look at how simple it is to spread negativity on Facebook, at how common it is, we realize how numb we are becoming to it. However, when we see strangers reaching out to strangers and crying in delight, making true contact with others and saying how grateful they are for one another, we realize how similar we all are, whether we want to admit it or not. For sharing of positivity on Facebook may be less common, but it is so much more exciting to read about. Thank you, Kansas City, Kansas, for being so full of amazing people. I hear you have good barbecue and talented little ones. Thank you. Special thanks to you, Carolyn, Jennifer, Dewana, Michelle, Megan, and Yvonne. Would you show the video, please?
A veteran and his family searching for the little girl who wrote, "Thank you for your service."
The family's so touched by her kind words, they're sending their own from 700 miles away. Fox 4's Judy Lee with their search for the unknown sender.
A family in Ohio used Facebook to try to find a little girl in Kansas City, Kansas. The post has been shared more than 1,000 times. All he wanted to do was say thank you.
This is really amazing that these people wrote me back.
700 miles, 1,208 shares on Facebook, and one post, just to say thank you.
Teaching our youth that small acts of kindness can change everything will start a revolution.
That message finally reached Sierra Agee 2 days later.
And that's the veteran and his 2 kids.
It all started with her own thank you note.
Thank you for serving our country. And thank you for being a big part of America.
She didn't know she would receive a thank you of her own.
I feel really happy that he's back with his family. And it touches my heart that he wrote me back to say thank you.
There's a program at Kansas City, Kansas Community.
Okay. We have the director of the Child Care Center here, Erica Ritter. Would you come up, please? And would you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, there was a program with the Child Care Center, and they honor veterans. And so on October 23rd, they had an event at the college where they invited veterans, our student veterans. There was a Buffalo soldier there, the oldest living one, from Leavenworth. They did a slideshow. There was music. The children did performances. They marched around with flags. And a couple of the children read some of the letters that they had sent out to the troops. And this was about teaching children about patriotism, about what soldiers do to protect their futures. And so they took on this large project, you know, for little people. That's a lot to really grasp when you're small, but it's good to start when they're small so that as they get older, they really understand the impact. If they see a soldier on an airplane or at an airport, you know, maybe how to react to that. So they did the letters. They even learned some of the drill techniques as well, like some of the tactics. And then they also, at the end of the program, 2 of the students, and one of them was Sierra, who did the card, folded the flag to close the ceremony. So, you know, they sent them off in October to the Red Cross, and they never heard anything back. And then all of a sudden on Facebook, it kind of blew up. I will say my phone was ringing off the hook. You know, people were great in the community, the college. We were getting phone calls and forwards. And so we knew the little girl. Her name is Sierra, and I was able to contact her mother. I took a little longer because she is a child, so I wanted to make sure we had parent permission, and got a hold of her. And so why she was so emotional in the video is that's when she found out. She had no clue prior to that, that her message was received and received so well. This was a little girl that doesn't have a lot of confidence, and so to see something so small makes such a huge difference. I mean, she was so genuine. I got a little teary-eyed watching it again because I was there with her when she experienced this. And to see how something so small that we teach our children, that's going to continue on with them. I believe, in her school as well. The principal acknowledged her. They played it at her school here in Kansas City, Kansas. And so it's just been an uplifting experience to see how something small can lead to something so great and bring a community together.
Thank you. Thank you.
Presentation.
Yeah, we have a presentation back. Dean Smith?
Awesome. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Where this come about was Charles Knapp and Carly Eastling and Scott Smith had started stuff about 2 years ago, and we started working with the middle school students to get them aware of the program. So they pretty much set up the program. I'm going to have them talk to you about it and everything, but they were asked to present at K-State, and it was a great response from the people. They had several groups come to them and want to borrow their stuff and trade stuff, and some other groups had great ideas. And they've also been asked now to go to Tampa Bay, Florida to do this also, so hopefully they'll be able to go there. But it really comes to everybody in the school, the days that we have one time a week or one time a month, sometimes two, and we have all the junior highs here or a junior high here. It takes everybody from staff to faculty, especially the students, because the students help do it, and they want to talk to the young people, and of course they listen to them more than they do everybody else. But the teachers and the faculty, and having lab aides to be able to let them out to be able to do that, lets them be able to do that once a month. But I'd like for Carly and for Charles to come up and speak just a little bit about it.
I need copies of the PowerPoint for you guys.
Well, as Cliff said, thank you for having us this morning. We do these tours with high schools all the time, and so Scott Smith got a request from Northwest Middle School if we could do middle school kids. So Scott kind of panicked and said, we can't do our normal tours like this. So he kind of dropped it on Carly and I. Carly had a lot more high school or middle school experience than I did. And we knew that taking them on these normal tours would not work, so we kind of devised a plan where we'd have them do a kind of a hands-on. And that's kind of where it started. And actually, it was about 5 years ago.
2011, December 2011 is when Northwest said we'd like to come tour, and that's how it all started. And then the brainstorming, and so we kind of have. It's evolving. It's never, every time we try to change, make the activities a little more interesting for the middle school students. So we went to the conference in Manhattan for the Career and Technical Education Annual Conference. And we kind of presented, we were on the agenda, and we presented for an hour what we do here at the community college, how we bring the middle school students in, and we provide them a hands-on experience with all of our different programs to plant the seed early so they can know by the time they get in high school and start choosing career paths, they have an idea of what all we offer here at the community college and at the Technical Education Center. So we provided that, and it helps them lead into pathways because they actually get to do a hands-on activity like hammer a nail. You'd be surprised how many of those middle schoolers are taking two hands and trying to hammer a nail, or they actually get to weld, and they get to put the full gear on and actually weld. And I didn't get to weld till I actually started working here, but they get to in middle school. So it's just a really a great event that allows them to sample what we offer here.
We weren't too sure about the CTE conference, how well we were going to be accepted. I was hoping if we got 4 or 5 people to come in to our conference section, we'd be doing good, and turns out it was almost completely full. And I was shocked or surprised by how surprised they were. No one else in the state is doing this. They have middle school programs, but no one does it like this. And they came in and said it was the best one they attended there. It was they were glad they came just for us to see our presentation. They asked, I always keep my notes, and we didn't do handouts like we did for you because they said not to. So I had a gentleman come up and said, do you mind if I have your notes? I said, okay, you can have my notes. And then another lady came up from a college in
Flint Hills.
Flint Hills, and said, do you mind if we copy your idea? And we go, no, it's fine. Go ahead
so
and do
she
it.
gave me her card, and she's been emailing me, contacting me, finding out what support we have here, how we how we got it to take off, and things like that. So we are, and Washburn Tech's also kind of emailed, and the lady that put on the actual conference has actually emailed me wanting all this data that you see, as well as the video we were going to show, if we could put it on their website so that all the different attendees could actually.
And then they asked us if we would present at the national conference, so we're still thinking about that one. They thought this was such a great idea, but it really is. We try to plant the seed early. It's a way of letting well, you'll see the video here in a minute that John Brandt and his class put together. It's really, there are many ambassadors going out to the community, and this is really about the community and our students here in our community, and making sure in the middle schools they don't get a chance to see these kind of activities, and so here they really get to participate and have this hands-on experience. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of fun. So we invite you to come. I know several of you have already been. I've done a lot of things in my educational career, but this is one of the ones that I'm most proud of. When you see these young people come in and the things they say, I know we get these comments, we have them write back comments, and it's just amazing and the instructors too. You'll see that on the video.
And we'll show you the video, and big thanks to John Brandt, our multimedia instructor here. Him and his students actually videotaped and made the video for us, so big thanks to them.
And I'll add one more thing. I have my notes down here, what I wanted to say, but when we're doing our conference, there was a gentleman that stood up, and his name was Russell Shields, and he was from Washington High School. And he's an instructor there, and he's also an advisor to the freshmen who come in. And he says, I'd just like to give a testimonial that all these new freshmen who come in, I talk to them every year about career paths, and he goes, I was surprised at how many of them knew about the college and the tech center because they'd been here as middle school kids. So it really does work.
They had an idea of what career path they wanted to go into, so it's awesome.
And that we were here.
Yeah. Did you guys?
Okay, you wanted to see the film? Yep.
I don't have to.
The event originally started when Scott Smith received a phone call from Northwest Middle School wanting to come and to see some of the career options and the programs that we offer.
So Carly Eastling and I, he sort of gave it to Carly and Eastling and I to deal with. And we had both had experience in middle school, teaching middle school, especially Carly Eastling. And so we decided we'll break the groups into maybe 10, and then we will give them about 7 minutes each, and we'll keep them rotated, and we'll watch them closely and kind of have controlled chaos.
We also wanted to provide the students with an opportunity to see different careers, not the typical bachelor degree careers, but there was other careers where they could get industry recognized credentials and training, and within less than a year come out and having a really good job and a career path in front of them.
Well, actually the main reason is because it gives them an opportunity to see all the different trades that are out there, different opportunities that they can have by going into one of the trades. I hope that the students have more ideas of what opportunities there are for them, where they can come from junior high, go to high school, come here for possibly little to no money. They can also get their certificates, go on and get a job, and if they want to go to a four-year school, they can go to a four-year school, but at least they'd have something they could work with and make money while they are going to a four-year school.
Well, I think the events are important because they really give us great exposure. You know, it's exciting to see all the young people come in, you know, that've never been here before, and to see the excitement that they have about taking part in the programs and the exhibits that we have.
Hopefully they'll get to sample some different career choices and get to start early on deciding what they might want to do for their future careers.
I'm excited about District 500 Superintendent's goals that every high school graduate should have some college credit or a certificate or industry recognized credential when they graduate. And I think that's important because, you know, I think for a long time, the students who were not going to a four-year college kind of got left behind.
If they decide to go with the trade route or tech center route, then that gives them a step up to move on to the next, either go to a union or get a job as soon as they get out.
We want them to have a hands-on experience. We want it to be fun. We want them to learn something, and we wanted them to maybe be our mini ambassadors back to their parents and to their schools. But it really wanted to be a fun experience, doing things they normally would not do since they don't have a lot of the shop programs in the schools anymore.
They just love all of it. I know they like the hands-on. I know that they are really, like I said, surprised at the things that are here and the fact that they can make money doing something like that.
If I knew about this back when I was in high school or elementary school or things like that, I probably would have pursued it, you know, going into college. To watch them start off not wanting to do it, and then by the end of the 7 minutes, everyone is doing it. The boys, the girls, it doesn't matter. They're doing designs, they're doing all different types of stuff. So it's really cool. I think it's a really good opportunity for them to learn.
They're inquisitive, they're impressionable. It's a really good fit for us to make them aware of skills and occupations that pay an above average wage that they wouldn't otherwise have probably even heard of.
I think it's very positive because all the kids are thinking it's really cool and they get to try something new they probably would not try.
I'm in charge of the aerial lift, skyjack, scissor lift. I've had some that are scared of heights, and then when we explain the safety precautions that we take, then they change their mind a little and they want to do it on their own.
I think the most positive thing you can see is just the smiles on their faces. I mean, kids don't get a lot of opportunities to do this, go to the tech centers and just see hands-on experiences such as this.
I think teaching somebody helps you learn and remember stuff better. So when we learn something and then we have to go teach somebody else about it, it helps us.
The youth are my future. So therefore, why not hand them down something that will be useful, whether that is just to gain cooking skills or to be a professional chef. Like for me to be able to be part of that, that is an experience that nobody could ever replace.
My favorite one was with the laser. You put your name in it and it came onto the pencil. It shows you right here on your pencil the thing where it go up and come down. I like the one when we were in the room and we went up.
The wheelchair racing.
The one with the torch.
I liked it because it was creative.
Because someday I want to learn how to do hair. Because it was really awesome what we've done so far.
There's a lot of smart people here, fun activities, and a lot of things to do.
That it's really fun and it's a really nice place to be.
I did learn about stuff like the careers that I may want to do in the future.
The stations, going from place to place, not staying in one place too long, is perfect. Middle schoolers are very active. Their minds, their bodies are extremely active. So the ability for them to see a whole myriad of different environments and people and actively engage in a kinesthetic level is very cool for them and for us as their teachers. And a technical education center like this is a tremendous opportunity for them to just see some things that they could maybe see themselves doing in the future.
There's nothing you don't have. I mean, I was thinking about the welding experience, for one thing. Where does a kid, I mean, everywhere you go, you're like, don't touch, don't do. A kid gets to come in here and weld and play with electricity, and the greatest part is obviously the hands-on part. Our kids come away talking about stories for weeks after we get out of here.
As a teacher, I think is a wonderful opportunity because I think back when I was a child, if they had given me this opportunity, it would give you more avenues because all those years of high school and middle school, I just knew I was going to be an actress. And once I started substituting, it was like, oh, I want to become a teacher. You know, you might like certain things, but once you get your hands-on experience, that's what draws out your heart and your desire.
Rachel, one of the students in there that said about, it's about the youth. I had her in 9th grade, So she's been one of my favorite students for a long, long time. It was nice to meet back up with her when she came here to school, and she's really a super student. She was in the Culinary Arts program.
We have some upcoming dates if you'd like to actually come, and some of you've already been. If you'd like to see some more, we have a upcoming one in February, one in March, and one in April, and it's at the end of the packet if you're welcome to come and actually watch as we get the big we get the middle school in here, and we actually do the activity, and you're welcome to participate too, so thank you.
Charles, how long have you and Carly been working together?
Let me see, 9 years maybe?
9 years?
Yeah, much longer than that. How long has it been?
2006, I started
Yes,
at AT, when it was ATS.
That's it? It doesn't go back any further?
Well, it goes back further than that, but we work for the district too, for together.
USD 500,
in
yes.
USD 500.
Yeah, all right.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
You've known each other for a long time,
Long
haven't
time.
you?
Mhm.
Yeah, right. Like 40 years?
Yes, pretty much.
I would love to see us. I think the video is wonderful. And I would love to see us be able to use that in like a state meeting or even a national meeting. I think it speaks volumes. Also want to congratulate you on seeing the girls trying some of the high-tech things and non-traditional, and hope that will continue in their careers. Thank you.
Our rule is everyone does. They all try. They all participate. And we are in groups. We watch them, and everyone participates. Usually it's not a problem, but we want them to experience everything. And try new things. So.
Well, I've had the privilege of coming, and what I appreciate isn't just about the knowledge of the career path, but to Trustee Breitenthal's point, there's a lot more learning about life and acceptance, and these sort of things are very valuable. And you guys might recall when I was principal at the elementary school, I snuck in my 5th graders. Snuck in, I just came brought them. But
statute of limitations.
Yeah, they're up. Yeah, so I can confess that to the superintendent now, bringing the 5th graders in. But what I really appreciate about the staff and the students, because it's a mutual learning. While we are obviously using this as a recruitment tool for the young people, and a couple of the students spoke about, well, I have to now teach what I've learned and how they go about explaining to the young people, as I've observed. It's fantastic. So I think it's mutually beneficial for our students as well as for the middle schoolers that are coming in. And we do have to get our younger people engaged in the idea that they have to continue their education, and for them to understand that this is possible. And I think that if we do that, then there'll be more acceptance by the older individuals in the community to support this initiative of our school district, Kansas City, Kansas, but also the community college, that there are high quality employment opportunities that are going unfilled because people just don't understand how possible it is to continue their education or to get the young people to already have good employment opportunities right out of high school if they focus in on their learning and continuing their education pipeline. So thank you very much, and please express our gratitude to the students because they're really the ones that make it happen at the end of the day, because while their instructors are usually there, they stay in the back. I don't know if they're getting graded as they're instructing the middle schoolers, but they really are the ones that make the thing work, I believe. So thank you.
One question, what time of day do these take place?
The ones that are upcoming, they'll start at 8:30. 8:30. And it goes till 10:30, but then we bring them back in here and then we kind of overview. We try to tell them it matters now. So your attendance, things like that, we try to tell them what they need to do to come here their junior, senior year, whatever they choose to come if they're interested. So they're 8:30, but they go for 2 hours and they rotate every 7 minutes. So
they can come in the afternoon if they choose. We give them a morning or an afternoon session. We don't do both the same day. We tried that, it's too hard. But they can either come in the morning or the afternoon. And Scott Smith, our counselor, at the end we have a question and answer session. Students are all kind of pumped because they had a good time. And then we really hit home that if you want to come here, then you need to do well. You need to, reading and math is very important. Your attendance at your schools, very important. It's what you do now is going to prepare you to come here later on. So it's very important that you do well at school. I do a good job now. So.
Are they all 8th graders?
We have 6th, 7th, and 8th. My personal favorite are the 6th graders. Yeah. They have different groups there, but I really enjoy the 6th grade. But it depends on the middle school which group they want to bring. And we only let them bring one group a year because we don't have enough.
You may not know the answer to this, but any idea what happened when they go back to school, how the teachers use their experience here to?
Yes, they do. With the new USD 500
Seems
initiative, they actually use it to kind of do the 2+2, so they can, and then they inform them that, hey, now matters and you can come here junior, senior year. Yeah. One of the things we didn't say earlier, the Northwest teacher, Jason Nealon, was 2011. He was one of the ones that spearheaded coming here, and when he was here, 3 students back from 2011 were coming here as senior year, and he saw them. So they did do the experience, and we only know of 3 because we just started tracking the data. Yeah. So he saw 3 students. He's like, that one and that one, they were here. We came to the event, the very first event. So we're going to start tracking. So hopefully we can show you some.
So the intent is this is just a one-day event. It's a learning experience.
It's a learning experience
that
kind of
continues on after they go back to school and working with teachers.
And then usually their freshman, sophomore year, we have hot careers here where they get to narrow it down to 2 careers and spend 45 minutes coming and get a little more in-depth information about the program. And then hopefully by then their junior, senior year, they'll be able to decide if they want to attend here or not. So
I know you're really busy and working really hard. Kind of hate to ask Dr. Lane here. Any thought about going to the junior high, middle school from the other districts in Wyandotte County? Or do you do that already?
Yes, if they ask, we do. Yes, if they ask, we do attend. We come, if they ask.
Yes. So they're aware of the program and they can come if they ask to come, they can come.
Yes, it's kind of a first come, first serve. Whoever asks first, and then we fill because we can only do it once a month because of how much time it takes. So we try to whoever asks first.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? No. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent program. We'll move along to the president's report.
Darren Elliott is here, and he has asked for an opportunity to speak to the board. And so he's doing it under my report.
Good morning, Darren.
Good morning, thank you. I speak to you today as a member of the Kansas City, Kansas Community College faculty for over 14 years, a member of the Faculty Senate, a member of the Faculty Association, member and chair of the College Senate. I have served on practically every possible committee on the campus, have spent thousands of hours over the 14 years in meetings, countless hours traveling on the road with the college speech and debate team. But first and foremost, my job is as an educator. Like many of my colleagues, I feel like that job is under attack, and the professionalism afforded to it has little respect in certain areas of the state of Kansas. Specifically this week, the House Education Committee in the Kansas House of Representatives will vote whether or not to send House Bill 2531 to the House floor for debate. As you may or may not know, House Bill 2531 would strip all community college faculty and all technical college faculty in the state of Kansas from due process rights. This is just another attack in a long line of anti-education policies that have come from Topeka. When this bill was introduced, imagine our surprise when we were told the word going around the State House was the bill had been requested by and supported by every community college in the state of Kansas, every community college president, and every board of trustees. Our well-organized and well-represented faculty immediately reached out to our administration. Dr. Givens informed us that no such vote was cast on her behalf in favor of this legislation, and that no such vote was taken in approval of it on her behalf. So when the bill was introduced in the committee last week, a number of KCK faculty traveled to Topeka to hear testimony on both sides and to speak to the representatives. In an unprecedented show of support, Dr. Givens and her entire cabinet, Dr. Lindahl, Dr. Vitale, Dr. Abelainen, along with Marissa Gray, traveled to Topeka as well to stand beside KCK faculty in a show of support. During testimony from the proponents of the legislation, President Swinder of Garden City Community College testified that all presidents and all board of trustees supported this bill, but under brutal and masterful cross-examination by Representative and KCK Professor Val Wynn, along with a former award-winning high school debate coach and now House Representative Ed Trimmer from Winfield, Kansas, it became clear that whether or not public vote had been taken and whether or not there was public support unanimous among the boards of trustees was in fact in question. In fact, when it was pointed out that Dr. Givens was in attendance and did not support the bill, that was met by the Garden City Community College president's look of surprise, a red face, and total silence. His silence, however, spoke volumes. I'm here today on behalf of the Faculty Senate and the Faculty Association to make two requests from the Board of Trustees. The first request is that the board send a message to the Kansas Association of Community College Trustees that you in fact do not support the bill, and further request that members contact legislators on the House Education Committee before the vote is taken on Thursday, and explain this to them as well, especially representatives from service areas in Lansing and Leavenworth, who we believe representatives may be in support of this bill. Our second request from the faculty is that you commend this administration for their unprecedented show of support for the faculty in Topeka. Gestures like this are not hollow, and I personally will do what I can to make sure those gestures are remembered by our faculty. Quite frankly, what's transpired over the last few weeks at this college makes me as happy as I have ever been to be a member of this community college and this college community and its campus. Many of my colleagues from around the state are not nearly as lucky. While here at the college we may have differences from time to time and disagreements, it's clear there is an educational mission that has been embraced by both the faculty and the administration, and that the relationship being forged between the two only means great things for the future of this college. However, this continued educational excellence and faculty leadership can only occur in an environment where faculty feel free to express themselves, to teach educational subjects to their highest ability, and where students are free to learn. We believe House Bill 2531 would undercut every one of those efforts. Especially appropriate this month, I was reminded of something civil rights pioneer Angela Davis wrote. She said, "If they come for me in the morning, they will come for you at night." The House Education Committee already struck a blow to K-12 education when they stripped due process from that group. Now there are those who would come for higher ed faculty. And be aware, there are those in Topeka who would also like to see local boards of trustees no longer locally elected, but instead appointed politically. Imagine the consequences acts like that may have. It is critical that we stand together and that we are united, and we hope for and ask for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Elliott?
Darren, I understand there was an official vote taken on the presidents, and it was 18-1, as I understand. So our president did, I think, very courageously stand up and did a formal vote taken by the presidents, and I understand surprised 18 of them pretty much. As you said, she did stand with this college and the faculty and cast a no vote. So I applaud Dr. Givens for that.
I know that faculty that spoke that day represented Johnson County Community College and Hutchinson Community College and the Johnson County folks were especially surprised that there were administrators there who were not there in support of them, but rather in support of the legislation. Talking to colleagues from around the state, there's a lot of distrust between faculties and administration right now. Things are not looking good. There was talk of a vote of no confidence at a couple of the community colleges in the state of Kansas. I'm certainly happy we're not in that position here and that the support has been wide-reaching, and we appreciate that support and hope the trustees extend that support as well and make sure that the community college trustees in the state know that, because it's especially harmful when people will go to great lengths to make it seem as if everyone supports something when in fact they don't. And when our college is lumped into that, it's troubling, and I'm glad that there were representatives on that committee who pointed that out. I will be in attendance Thursday when they debate this, and there will be other folks there, but again, we hope for that continued support, and again, commending the president for the stand that she took, and our faculty certainly appreciate that.
Mr. Elliott, are you requesting our Board of Trustees take a position on this?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that the Board of Trustees support the request, saying that we do not support the bill that would take due process from our teachers, and that we also draft a letter for the president to sign, chairman of the board to sign, to send that to the Community College Association.
Second.
Okay. I'll amend that motion with the bill number 2531.
Thank you.
So everyone's heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We attended the Phi Theta Kappa ceremony in Topeka on Thursday. We were well represented with 2 tables, and Alana Hernandez and Taylor Yoder were the recipients and participants in on the All-State academic team. So I brought back programs because I know that some of you were in Washington, D.C., and other board members were not able to attend. So I brought back programs for the board members, and we'll send one to Ms. Flunder. So the other 2 documents that are listed here, I sent it's in your on your iPad with your agenda. So I won't address those because I'm sure you've read them. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Motion to approve the president's report.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded to accept the president's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I ask a question.
Yes.
And I don't, Dr. Vitale's not here, maybe he can't answer this. But in the report he had on the GED program, he said that students here at our college enrolled in a technical education program and pursuing the GED cannot receive their certificates from us until they earn their GED. Thus, while they may be able to be hired without the GED or high school diploma, but they cannot even show the certificate. And I'm just wondering, is that our policy, or is that a policy that's set in place by a higher education group, that once a student gets our certificate, they can't use that certificate until they complete their GED? Is that correct? And
Dr. Kramer.
That's actually not correct. What we had a meeting about the AOK program, and Kansas Board of Regents is very strong behind it, but they let the college determine their policies of how they're going to go forward with it. And I'm not sure what's written in the report, except to say that the way we decided we would handle things is students could come through, and as they do the AOK program and obtain the technical certificate, they would get they could get their technical certificate, finish the program, go out to work with it, no problem. But if they came back and wanted to pursue a second certificate, at that point they would have to finish their GED before we would award that second certificate, because our goal is obviously for them to continue on that. And the AOK, the way the program's designed is it's mainly supportive of them finishing their certificate that they're working on. So they are getting support on the math they need for, say, machine tech, or you know, the reading that they would need as well, but it's not necessarily enough to prepare them to finish the GED. So the goal is that they would be pursuing the GED along with that, and their instructors encourage that. And what has been decided is there's a few students that have come back, they didn't go to work, they wanted to come back and get a second certificate. And it was because of that that we want to try and encourage them to get the GED alongside of it.
Okay,
and we're going to require some meetings with the AOK coordinator and the students to kind of help them get their GED training.
So let me make sure I understand clearly. So a student gets a certificate in any one of our programs at technical school, can take that out and present it to be hired without having a GED. They can use that certificate.
They can. It's not a guarantee that the employer is going to hire them,
yeah.
but yes.
But it doesn't prohibit them from going to the employer and say, hey, I've got a certificate from KCKCC.
Right.
Okay.
But our goal is that on the second time, if they come back and they want to pursue a second certificate, our goal is to award both at the same time, to award that GED to them and that second tech certificate at that point.
Aren't we getting pushback from the student? The student that gets their certificate is hired, then wants to go on. And then we tell them, well, but we want you to get your GED. And they say, well, I'm working, I'm running. And so,
and that's why
how are we addressing that?
There's a couple
some
ways.
people are just stopping.
There's a couple ways. Number one, and we can't keep them from doing that. They could stop. But what's set up is there's a program called Aztec. It's an online tutoring program that students can use, and they're enrolled in it. Any of these GED students are enrolled in that program and can log in and work on aspects of tutoring as they go through their preparation to take the GED. And they can take it in separate tests. It's not that they have to take the entire GED at once, so they can pass sections as they prepare for them. So what we're going to do is just make sure that, and I think this was the first step in terms of that, coming back for that second certificate, what we're going to do is just try to encourage which we do this, but make it more formalized, right? That the AOK instructors are meeting with the students and kind of guiding them and giving them a plan that, look, what are you doing towards pursuing this and taking some of these GED tests? Because that's the thing. I mean, a lot of the students that are coming back are telling us, I'm coming here, I'm doing the AOK program in the tech center from 7:30 to 3 every day, and then I go to work and I work all night and I don't have time to study for this GED test.
Right.
So that's kind of
which is very difficult. Very difficult.
It is. It is a difficult test, and so that's the reason we're starting this step, right?
Okay.
We're going to continue working on trying to figure out the way to crack the nut, but it just takes a while to do. So, does that answer your question, Doc?
Yes, and I don't have any proposal of a solution. It's just that I have gotten some call, and I do know there's. I mean, I'm not kidding. I don't want to make it sound like I'm getting hundreds of calls, but the people that have taken the time to call and are frustrated, they are successful. And they're feeling like, okay, I've got young ones, and I want them to continue their education, but I've got so much going on.
Right.
And I know I can do this, but they're not letting me. So can't you call them and tell them to let me in? Of course I can't. None of us can. But I sense the sincerity of their desire to continue, because to me, the certification program is continuing their education.
Right.
It isn't going against our missions that, we're not wanting to learn and to improve even further in their careers. They are, but they're driven, I guess what I would call career-wise, rather than a general education.
Thank you.
Could I also add that we will provide the link to the website where the article was, it missed being cited in this particular report. And we'll get that for you. So if you'd like to read more about the GED and the new tiered GED reporting and how it proves college readiness, it's all in there. And it's really an interesting article to follow up on.
Thank you, Dr. Lindell. Dr. Long? I don't see Nashon this morning. Are you going to give his report? Come.
I know you're all real disappointed that Nashon's not here, and you're stuck with me. I'll make this very brief. As far as the Student Senate, they've been very, very active, as always. Just a couple noteworthy things is we had a Student Success Week, and part of that was a citizenship program where they encouraged students to learn more about their government and encourage voter registration, and it was a tremendous success, and I think that's something to be proud of. Success Week was co-sponsored by Amanda Williams and the Academic Resource Center. We've been doing a number of programs for Black History Month. We also had an academic achievement night for our intercollegiate athletes, and out of 160 athletes, 90 had a 3.0 GPA or higher, and out of that 90, there were 12 that had a 4.0. And members of the board went to a recent basketball game and handed out certificates, and it was a very, very proud moment for our intercollegiate athletes, and a lot of credit goes to Tony Tompkins for his efforts on that. And then finally, just on the topic of veterans, I would encourage you to go to the lower level Jewel. If you take the elevator down, there is a small area that we call our Veterans Corner. And it's been kind of decorated. Jeff Sixta did a fantastic job with it. And it has the American flag, and this month we're featuring some stories about Black veterans, but it is intended to be just an area where on a monthly basis we have different types of plaques and features to show tribute to our veterans. So that's my report, unless you have any questions.
I do have a question. I was really interested in the citizenship, which I'm so glad you did, and the voter registration. And my question is, because the requirements are different in different states, certainly between Kansas and Missouri. I know we may not have a lot of students that are not from Kansas. Did you make that distinction in terms of the requirements and how they differ between Kansas and, let's say, Missouri? Because that's a real challenge for some of our students.
Because I wasn't at the program, rather than me saying yes, I'm going to tell you that I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
One other thing that I know Nashon would want to mention is we also had a week of Valentine's events, and they were plastered all over campus, and I don't want to forget about those because those are extremely important to students.
Well, there were some educational. They had some. Well, there was.
The Valentine events?
Yeah, there was.
Well, they were educational in some ways.
No, they had down in the lower Jewel.
I'm just kidding.
we do want to socialize and so forth, but there were. I just want them to be aware that there were some educational opportunities on. Choosing apropria, making appropriate choices.
Absolutely.
Let me word it that way.
Yeah, part of it was also.
Don't want to be inappropriate in my choice of words.
No. We had Valentine events. We had speed dating. We had a dance, but we also had programs on STDs and AIDS and on Title IX,
right.
So that students would get a consciousness of
education.
Thank you, sir, and I apologize if
I happened to walk through
dating.
that, and they really, but they were afraid whether students would pay attention, but they were fairly well attended.
Indeed.
And
did you get a speed date in,
good information.
No, he did not participate.
I don't know how that went awry.
No, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, thank you,
Dr.
thank you.
Long.
And to your comment on our athletic director, I do believe that our investment in our athletics is really shown through that we are developing scholar athletes at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College because we're being successful in the classroom as the ad honor displayed, and we're also doing better at producing some wins in the various athletic programs as well. So both can be accomplished, and I know that it takes a lot of hard work on faculty's part, staff, and the coaches, and so if you could pass that along to the respective parties, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Motion to accept the Student Senate report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the Student Senate report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Lindahl, I understand you're going to handle Dr. Vitale's report.
Yes, I'm here to answer any questions if you have them about his report. He did ask if I would stand in today, so.
Well, maybe
I
so.
think we've covered the 2 items. The Pell was the other item that was on his report highlighted by Dr. Gibbons. And for that, it's looking at expanding the Pell, which would certainly help our students in many ways and other students as well. So invite you to take a closer look at that, and we hope to have more details on how that could be expanded for year-round and also for incentives for completing a certain number of credit hours.
I do have a couple of questions. On pages 20 and 21 for web services, I'm always intrigued by these reports, and my wondering is, how do we know if these numbers are good, bad? We get the numbers, but what's the real impact behind them?
These numbers are derived from a utility provided by Google. It's called Google Analytics. And we compared, our frame of reference is previous months. So when we're looking at, and the months from the year equivalent to the months that we are in. So when we are looking at February or January for that matter, we will be comparing it to January from last year and see if there is a number increasing, particularly for the social media. So you can look at Facebook and see how many fans we have on Twitter, how many followers. And as long as it is taking a rise, then we are in good shape. If it is taking a nosedive, then we start getting concerned about what might be causing that and think about ways to reach to our fans and followers in the social media.
Good. Is there a way that could, that could be
A
just
comparison?
sensitive-
A comparison? Certainly,
so that we
yes.
would understand
Yeah.
what that trend is?
Sure, absolutely, I can add that.
I'd appreciate that. While you're up there, on page 22, media services, I was wondering, is it possible for the various things that are recorded, the Jazz at the Lake, the College Senate, to be broadcast on the monitors that are within the college? The reason I ask is that I know in Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Central Office, they televise their board meetings, and it just kind of, I guess it's automated. You see the board meeting, and then a concert at a school or something like that. And then I was wondering, well, could the college, as we have,
They are
I would say a little
currently-
more
they are-
substantial offerings than what they have.
They are currently broadcasted regularly, and Randy, you can jump in if I misrepresent data. But they're currently now broadcasted on the college TV channel that is offered by Time Warner in Wyandotte County. We can include them in on our campus. We can put a few TVs and see that it gets broadcasted as well internally, as well as it's external.
Yeah, like in Lower Jewel, where there's students and so forth, so they maybe get interested. If they're not already, maybe we'll entice them to be
Certainly.
interested. On page 23, it's similar to my questions on page 20 and 21. What is the goal of the percentage to be solved, the goal of time spent on these? Again, we get the number, but I mean, that's what we get. Again, what are we shooting for?
It really shows the interest. If I'm flipping through pages, that doesn't mean that our website visitors are spending enough time to read the content on the page. So 2 seconds, that means that they're clicking from one page to another. But if they're spending more time on that page, it will certainly show that the average time spent on that page is long enough to understand what's going on. And it gives us some sort of an alert if the time gets little or gets shorter. That means that we need to be looking at our content, perhaps for update, perhaps at different representation of the data that is displayed on that page. So internally, we look at that as an indicator whether we are offering the right content or is it boring for our viewers on the internet or not.
Thank you.
Baz, I don't know if this is a question for you. It just caught my eye on page 29 when it talks about student housing occupancy. There's something at the end that says 1 offline apartment. What does that mean?
That's not online versus offline. I would prefer.
It's not available.
I didn't know if it meant.
Now I know why you make the big bucks.
Oh.
I think it would be an open apartment.
Yeah.
An open
Yeah, it's
apartment.
vacant. I would think.
Or it may not be available due to a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wondered, I'd never seen that before.
Thank you. It's Susan, on page 27, under the campus child care center, is it possible to, or maybe it needs to be at a future meeting, is potential partnerships with Family Conservancy and Project Eagle?
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be of interest to the board.
Hello.
Hello.
So since starting on, I've been here about 2 months now. I've been getting out in the community, maybe meeting some other people in the field, and we did have some people reach out to us, the Family Conservancy. Thank you. The Family Conservancy that does the whole greater Kansas City area, they have approached us in a partnership with the early education department as well to potentially explore some early Head Start opportunities here on campus. There is funding available. They can help with startup funds as well if we can provide a space. I think the latest talks is that potentially they can do 16 spots. When you partner with Early Head Start, is they pay those slots. So regardless if they're vacant or not, for instance, the number $250 a week was brought up. This is, nothing's been set up or anything. These are talks. So that would potentially, if you had 16 slots, and I don't have my calculator up here, maybe I did the 8 slot one, but I believe it's like $196,000 a year worth of income that would support having an early Head Start. So teachers' salaries, utilities, food, all of that things. So they kind of pay at a higher rate than, or reimburse you than maybe what your local community would pay. So it's a great opportunity, I believe, for the college to get involved with the local community, partnering with agencies that are the grantees for the Early Head Start. Early Head Start's getting a lot more attention right now than even Head Start, because all the research is showing that 0 to 3 is that critical time, and so it is getting a lot more of the funding available. So these are grants. I know the one that we're looking at now would end in 3 years, but we're fairly confident they would get the funding again. If not, is it self-sustainable? If you continue to charge and fill those slots, then yeah, it can be. Okay. And the other one is we did tour Project Eagle, which is downtown, and they also looked at, because they're a grantee as well with Early Head Start funds, they also approached us about getting some of our slots available just because the need's so great in this community. However, upon kind of mentioning that to the other grantee, we would kind of have to choose one and stick with one versus getting money.
We couldn't get both.
From my understanding at this time, no, we cannot.
That was actually my big wondering. Yeah, so
I know, it'd be great, right?
Yes, it would. Yeah, well, and the need is definitely there, but you know, federal government and its.
Some of you probably know I serve on the board at Family Conservancy. We became a grantor of their, the Head Start grants, and I noticed in a report a couple of months ago they were talking about where they were reaching out to, and the college wasn't on that list. And so, I reminded them that we have a pretty significant child care center, on the campus. So they're looking to partner because they've got to disperse the funds. It's passed through federal funds through Family Conservancy down through, and most of you are aware of my efforts in early childhood education advocacy anyway. So it's really a natural fit. And I was quite surprised that, there wasn't some relationship going previously, but before we had always received our Head Start dollars, through another agency. Well, last year we became that agency to get the grant and disperse through. So it gives us, Family Conservancy, that opportunity to be real aggressive. So I hope, and I'm encouraged that will go
And
through.
there's just not many in Wyandotte County quality early education centers. I think they said about 3, and we're included in that. So that's why they're really reaching out to us, because they know we can provide a quality service. And early Head Start is a high quality service. It's getting the space available to get this to happen. So
Right.
And I think we can probably use the dollars.
Well, that's a very good point.
Where's Mary Ann? She's always asking about the child care. Here we have a potential revenue stream. Mary Ann, I know you're listening or watching on TV. We're on it, girl.
Yes,
We're on
yes,
it.
but we also understand that it will also probably call for some investment in upgrading the child care. And so I know that staff will be talking with the Finance Committee, which will be talking to the full board, if in fact these partnership can continue to move forward, then some improvements will need to be facilitated. So I just want you to know that we understand that.
perfect. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
so fast. During your meetings with the professionals out there, what are the comments about the governor's decision on the early education block grant to take those funds and put them in a general fund? Is there any opposition going on out there?
I think it's it's continuing. Kansas is one of those states that still hasn't grasped the concept, like a lot of other states, in supporting early childhood, which is part of why I'm on that committee, to bring awareness to early childhood and to see that you need to invest in these funds. Economists have come out and made all these great return on investments. You're going to see a higher, graduation rates, less, children, or they'd be kids then, or adults then in jail, and those type of things. And the system does work. There is proof that this works. Other countries have done it, and Kansas continually struggles with the early childhood piece. And so when the block grant gets touched or moved or whatever it is, it no matter what happens, it causes kind of an uproar, and people are just nervous. I mean, because it is constantly changing, and we don't know where we stand. And so hopefully we're going to see some positive changes soon. So
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions of Dr. Lindahl on behalf of Dr. Vitale?
Yes, on page 28, the success of the new student orientation presentation, and perhaps the opportunity for that to go to national. I was wondering about, because I feel like we have an opportunity, fellow trustees. We're having some, I would call, major successes in some new initiatives. And to be able to share this is just kind of like with the tech program and with the middle school, and then you find out, this is unique, and yet people are hungry to get to the younger age. I'm wondering about being able to support writing a proposal to present to ACCT on this initiative, on our strategic planning, the success we've had with our new finance formats. You know, I shared with you when I was fortunate enough to attend this last national. I mean, they were asking me for copies of what we had from what the presenter had. And so what, I don't know who to present that question to, but I was just wondering if we are writing kind of these proposals to see if there is interest.
We have presented when ACCT met in Seattle. We did, and Mrs. Branthal presented with us because we had a board member too. Yeah, we can do that. We can do more of that. We've been kind of cautious this year about spending since we had to pay back the money in the middle of the year last year. So those conferences are pretty expensive, so we just kind of held back this year. If we are not cut again and if we are able to, we will definitely do that. We enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
And we do have a roundtable coming up at the Higher Learning Commission. The conference there, we have a roundtable discussion on tying the budget and strategic plan together, how one informs the other. And so we do have that, since we were going to be there anywhere, put in the proposal request, and it was granted. So we do have that. But we'll take the others forward. We're looking for trend analysis, what we can use to provide documentation that what we're doing is making a difference. And so we'll follow up on that. Thank you.
And I'm presenting on a panel at AACC, I think that's in April, about the leadership at Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and the way it's structured and the way we move forward. So I will be doing that.
You need to take your board chair with you.
There's something going on.
Yeah, so.
On page 33, do we know where the students come from that are being that are testing the developmental? Is there are they coming from a preponderance of location or something of this sort, so that we could maybe
We could do some analysis on that.
have you have not done such an analysis? Okay. Well, I think that would be good. And then do we try to coordinate the results of the test with our tutorial sign-up? So, because it would seem to me that to get our students to be more successful, you would, if they're testing in one thing and we're offering tutorial, that we would kind of lobby them, or however you want to word that, to coordinate those efforts.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
I've green-lighted Amanda Williams. She's the Assistant Director of the ARC, to have our coordinators be more proactive in reaching out to those students who are struggling. I've been providing them specific data for like classes this semester where students are struggling, and I've asked them to go out and be more creative in reaching those students so that they can take advantage of the services that we offer. So I'm monitoring the outcome of those interactions, and we're going to adjust our strategies as we need to get as many of those students as we can.
All right. Thank you. On page 35, on the appeal success rate percentage, I was wondering, who do we attribute that success to? And I think it's a great percentage, and you know, I'd like to express appreciation to whoever's behind assisting the young people in attaining that. No one wants credit. Well,
Student financial
I'm
aid.
looking.
Financial
Student
aid.
financial aid.
I'm sorry, I just referred to the page number.
Financial aid exclusion
Yeah.
appeals.
On page
They
35.
probably appeal right to the office there, I would imagine.
There were
Office of
106
Financial
appeals, and 102 of them were successful, which is just outstanding, I would think.
I think credit would go to Ms. Mary Dorr in the Office of Financial Aid. She's been very proactive in monitoring students who are showing signs of distress as it relates to their financial aid allotments and their academics, and she's really initiated some steps to help those students with the Financial Aid Appeals Committee that meets on a regular basis to address those concerns, and I think all the credit in that regard should go to her.
All right. Well, if you
And
would,
we are planning to have her present to the board
Next month.
next month.
Yeah.
So you
Wonderful.
can ask
Okay.
those questions.
Yeah.
then.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
Gotta follow up.
Any more?
Just on page 37,
Okay.
that's what you get when I retire. I have time to read.
We're with you, sir.
I'm requesting, I think we need a report from Chief Snyder on our emergency response plan. It's noted there on page 37 about, and I feel like the board needs to be kept current and having that open flow of communication, especially while this is a televised meeting, that the community knows that we are, what our plans are. Is around the country, unfortunately, community colleges have had some unfortunate mishaps, and so I would.
Okay, well, I think it was 2010, we developed a formal emergency response plan, and it is on the intranet, so anybody can view it at any time. We revised it in 2013, and it's a live document. It needs to be updated, probably at least looked at on a yearly basis, and updated, every year or two. And we know that we still have work to do on that, just like we've implemented the ALICE program here on campus. Widely successful. It really took with our clientele, both faculty, staff, and students. Matter of fact, I think it's Thursday of this week, we're putting on another ALICE presentation. It'll be in the Performing Arts Center, and I can't recall exactly what time that is, but I know on Thursday we will be presenting that. And we already know that we have to implement our ALICE program into our current emergency response plan. They're really, we've looked around, there's really not another college that has the ALICE program linked in with their emergency response plan. So we're going to have to kind of invent the wheel on this instead of borrowing or at least having a template to fix it, to put it into ours. So it's going to take some time to do, and that's probably the biggest challenge that we have. It's the time, it's the manpower, resources to put into that. So we're trying to make it a priority. There's some places, like Johnson County, they have an emergency response unit at their college, and there's a lot of colleges that are starting to go that route to where they have, their emergency operations, whether it's their planning, their development of their emergency response plan, because it is such a delicate instrument that, there's a lot of time that goes into it. So we're trying to do that. I know I've talked with Trustee Ash a couple times when he's gone out, whether it's state, conferences. We do have a good plan in place, but it can always get better. And I know we're ahead of the curve. Thursday, I'm going down to the State Community College Public Safety, I guess you'd say conference. They hold it, excuse me, twice a year, and it's going to be down at Cali County Community College. And that's one of the topics that we're going to be talking about down there. And I will have our document with us as well, see if anybody else is doing anything better or if we can pull something out of it to use into ours. So I know I get contacted from several other community colleges. They're interested in ours. And so hopefully we can work together and, make it even better than what it is. JD, did you have any specific questions? you know, as far as the plan?
I just feel an update.
Okay, thank you.
I was after.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, Chief Snyder is consulting with individuals on our various campuses to provide information and ideas and assessment and in a very proactive fashion, and we commend him for that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One on page 29 from the college nurse. The Student Health Center is still currently staffed 3 days per week. Is that the typical, or is that less? And if so, is it a financial issue or a personnel issue?
Well, it's a personnel issue. We interviewed and offered the position of the RN. We do also have an LPN on their staffing currently the 3 days a week, but the individual we offered the position to was not able to accept it, and they declined. And so now we've opened it back up again, but we hope to get that filled and get that office, office of the nurse open again.
Do we have some services available even on the days it's not open that students can?
We do have some referrals, and we're working to get those more fully fleshed out. But we do think, again, that we hope we'll get the right candidate in and the right match for that, because it is a hardship to have it limited. Yes.
And finally, on page 37, there's a report that it appears that many community colleges are experiencing difficulty complying with the Higher Learning Commission's tightening of credential requirements for adjunct instructors. Are we having that problem? Is this something that we're facing at this point?
We are not facing that problem, although Dr. Vitale has reviewed all of as many as he could of the individuals teaching to be sure they have the requisite number of hours, because we have a large base to draw from for adjunct faculty. You know, we're much less at risk for that than institutions, say, in further parts of the state where they're not close to a metropolitan area. So then it's more difficult to find that individual with the credit hours required to teach a specific subject.
So that was a change in the requirements. They have to have more credit hours in the field of teaching.
Yes, and when they were here, they did ask to pull transcripts to review them. So fortunately, Dr. Vitale had already started through that process. And so we were ahead of the game on that one. But it is much more difficult in some of the areas where, they don't have a large base to draw from. And so it's a hardship in
well,
those
I just
areas.
know that adjuncts are so important to us, providing
They are.
education. And I just was wondering if we've seen a hardship on this. If the
Yeah.
pool's big enough, you're saying we're not having a problem.
It is at this
Great.
point in time. I think the deans could address if there's a specific area where we're having trouble, but currently I'm not aware of any. And it is that wonderful intersection of theory and educational background and practice. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was all.
That's it. Any more questions for Dr. Vitale?
I wish I were in Florida. If I were Dr. Vitale.
Entertain a motion to approve the Vice President's report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the Vice President's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Lindahl.
I would be prepared to answer any questions that you might have. We're still waiting for 20th day to get our numbers on enrollment and also on tuition. We're also watching still very closely what the state of Kansas is going to do with funding for community colleges. The announcement came out last week about a 2% cut for higher ed, and we're just waiting to see how that may impact us. And so we're proceeding very cautiously in all expenditures and positions to be sure they're key on any front before we spend those funds. And so I'd be glad to answer any questions along that line if I could.
Same one I've asked you before. Anything keeping you up at nights when you look at what's going on financially that you're saying this could be a hot spot for us?
Well, I do think, again, the funding, because we're so far along in the year, and then also watching very closely those courses that they're moving from tiered to non-tiered funding. Well, it's an indirect cut to a large extent, and so watching those and being sure that we track those all the way through is something that I think is an awareness that we didn't have before. So watching that and being sure that, again, that we're not taking on any risk financially that we shouldn't take on. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
The other part of my report is regarding Ad Astra. It's a scheduling program that we're using, and many of you, I think, are aware of it, and we'll have a presentation here again on it to highlight. But it's available on our website, and individuals from the community are going in to schedule the conference room and other areas on campus. And one of the questions, not that I would call that today because it certainly requires quite a bit of discussion, is a review of what we do charge for some of those areas, especially on the nights, the weekends, and then on the holidays when we're closed and we open back up for those. But just wanted to bring that to the table as an unbudgeted item that comes up every year, and we're trying to look at what it costs us, say, to bring in campus police, what it costs us to bring in buildings and grounds to set up and take down for those events. And so it's something that I would like to bring forward so that we're fair, we're consistent in how we administer that program. And so just wanted to bring that to your attention.
It appears that our buildings are being used more by the public, especially since we have the new tech school, but
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of things going on in our buildings now.
There are, and they would certainly attest to that, our directors and the chief of police. And I do think in many ways this facility is utilized so much that we don't always hear about. It's a great facility, but on the main campus as well, and we welcome that. We certainly do. It's just when we're closed in the weekends, that again, it's a financial issue and a financial hardship. If other places are closed but they want us to open up, we need to really look closely at that. So
Yeah, I think it's really a good sign because it's a
too.
good indication that more and
Yeah.
more people are aware of
Yeah.
our facilities and
Yeah.
that they're available, but it's really
Mhm.
giving us a nice input into the community and the community into us.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not complaining. I think it's great.
Yeah, we're not either. We love having individuals on campus and more from the community. And so we welcome that and just want to make individuals aware of what the process is for scheduling those. So we'll be back with more information, certainly through finance and then to the full board on the scheduling. And we'll get a breakdown of the number of events because I think that would be really interesting to have. So thank you. The other item that I'd been asked to give an update on is the non-smoking. And in checking with campus security and campus police and other areas on campus, we've had a very low number of issues, and we will be conducting through College Senate a survey about the non-smoking policy and how that has impacted, just as a follow-up. So we'll bring that back, but we've had very few issues, and we believe a much healthier campus and campus environment at all locations. So just as an update on that.
Well, I'd like to just commend the administration on the planning and carrying that out because I think we all were somewhat concerned about what might happen when we did this. There would be people protesting in the streets or whatever, and it's just been very, very quiet. And I think that's good. That's due to good planning and good implementation. So thank you for that. It's been great.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions for Dr. Lindahl? Motion to approve Dr. Lindahl's report.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the Chief Financial Officer's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports. Don, do you want to go ahead and talk about our trip here?
Well, we're in Washington, D.C. for the ACCT Legislative Summit, and Wendell and I attended a couple presentations put on by the ACCT and the AACC jointly. Some panel discussions that were really quite robust and pretty informative, very informative. Wendell and I also had personal meetings with Senator Roberts, Senator Moran, and Congressman Yoder and their appropriate staffers, educational staffers. Two of the three of them, Moran and Yoder, attended the KCKCC legislative reception on Tuesday evening. We had good conversation and visits with all of the appropriate staff people and so forth. They were supportive of our concerns I have shared with you, Wendell and I have shared with you the green sheet, if you will, which is the legislative agenda that was developed. The priority points. There was more to the legislative agenda than what you see there, but these were the priority points. We received encouraging reports about the Pell, continuing of the Pell and expansion into summer session Pell. The 14 semesters, I believe it is, authorization. And so some of the legislators, but particularly the staffers that are more in tune with a lot of the ongoing work there in the legislature, were very encouraging about that. And we got the opportunity to visit with some of our colleagues from around, some of the other colleges around the country, which is always helpful to sort of understand, what issues are being bandied around by boards all over the country, and they're not dissimilar to the things that we have to deal with here, either at the state level or at the local level. So we came by some pretty good information, and I picked up a brochure, for example, on an annual report for one of the California community college systems and districts that had some really good data, I think, interesting data that I think as board members, would be interested in looking at, but also could serve us in terms of when we do go to meet with our legislators, if we had something we could put in their hand that showed them what's going on at Kansas City, Kansas Community College particularly. As JD said and others have said before, we're having these successes, we need to share them and be sure they get into the hands of the legislators, either at the state or the federal level, so that they can see, when they start talking about a 2% cut, then we can intelligently talk with them to say, well, so for example, a 2% cut would mean, and we refer to our report, we wouldn't be able to do this, or we wouldn't be able to do this, or we'd have to eliminate this. We couldn't do this as well, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's that kind of ready data available in an appropriate presentation format, that's nice, tells our story, toots our horn, if you will, celebrates our successes, and at the same time shows us where, in some cases, where we need, to continue to work. This is not the time to take our foot off of the accelerator. It's a time to keep our foot on the accelerator, maybe give it a little more gas, to help us get up that hill and over it. So I brought that back, and after the meeting, I'll share that with Dr. Gibbons and staff, just as an example. And I think that's about it. Well, unless you want to add anything to that.
No, it was a good report, Don. You covered it well. I think the only thing that I could add to that would be the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act. There's a little split decision on it. Senator Roberts seems to think that there might be some movement on that this year. However, the other two legislators we talked to don't seem as optimistic.
Weren't as hopeful.
Yeah. But I reminded them last year when WIOA, the Workforce Act, was up for reauthorization, and there was similar skepticism that it would pass last year, and it did. So we're holding out hope that the Higher Education Act reauthorization will be enacted. Also, the president put in his budget the free education at community colleges. So I think he put it in for 2 years at an amount of, I think, $3,500 a year for each student. So that is in the president's budget. So we'll see how that comes out.
America's College Promise, I think it's referred to.
Right.
So which, in essence, is making 2 years of college free.
Okay, any other committee reports?
Just to let the trustees know that we are still in the investigating, collecting data on our student housing and on the child care center and the bookstore. And we also, I hope that you read the electrical usage, because we verified that we had a substantial savings of over $200,000. And in this January is the lowest usage. Now, we have had a mild winter, but you know, it's 400,000 kilowatt hours less. So I think that's much more than just attributable to a mild winter. And note the cost per kilowatt hour is $1.40 more. So that's going to affect your savings substantially. But I again commend staff for their conscientious use of our power, and hope that the savings continues, because that is one more venue that we're trying to utilize in these economic times. And I think that's all I have to report on
Very
finance.
Good. Thank you, JD. All right, if there's no more committee reports, I need a motion to go into executive session. I believe we need to go in for 1 hour for personnel matters of non-elected personnel, for consultation with the college attorney, for the board which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. So I need a motion for executive session for that purpose.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We moved into executive session for 1 hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll meet in the room where we had breakfast this morning.
Oh, another breakfast, huh?
Another breakfast,
Yeah, I
yes.
hope so. They left those scones out.
Call the meeting back into session.
Move, so move.
Oh, is that-
Okay. Under miscellaneous, oh.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's been moved and seconded. We're back in session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Excuse me, I forgot. Under miscellaneous, I would like to, in the absence of Ms. Flunder, I would like to ask Don Ash to join the policy committee. Would that be okay, Don?
So move.
Yes, that'd be fine.
This is just a chairman's appointment, so we don't need to vote on it.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous business? How about unfinished business?
I just want to publicly say thank you to Dr. Gibbons and the staff on behalf of Ed Pavey, the Executive Director of Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center, and Reverend Bobby Love, who is 3rd District Commissioner for Kansas African American Affairs Commission, Chief Terry Ziegler from the Police Department, and myself for working with us in co-hosting next month's Community Advisory Board training. It's a 2-day training that we're hosting in Lower Jewel, and Sherry's doing the catering for us on the food items. We'll be doing some work at the Police Academy also March 14th and 15th. 15th and 16th, whatever that Monday and Tuesday is, 14th and 15th, I think. And just want to publicly thank the college for allowing us so graciously to use the space and the facility. We should have about 70 people, roughly 65, 70 people in attendance over the 2 days. It's during spring break, so it shouldn't interfere with any classes or student activities. And I think it's going to be a real opportunity for us once again, as we talked earlier, to showcase, the college. So thank you very much for your support.
Very good. Thank you, Don. I'd also like to thank the media department for your mobility and your agility to get everything here and get set up for our meeting. Thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. All right.